Alright, boys. The rabbit hole only gets deeper. We're reacting to reactions of the emotional dialysis and compounding is unreal. Okay, let's get right into it.
Hello.
Would you call yourself a feminist?
I would. Yes, an intersectional feminist.
I've already identified which broad I'm gonna hate the most.
Oh my
Yeah,
days.
the best kind.
Where do you always have to
A
begin with
disclaimer
it?
for those who don't know: an intersectional feminist is a girl who's a feminist but also acknowledges, hey, black people exist.
I see colored people.
When you hear the word feminism, what comes to mind?
Marxism?
Feminism is fairness.
I think that it's unfortunately misguided.
Feminism is a flawed movement.
When you hear the phrase men's rights, what comes to mind?
Aggression.
Advocating for the human rights of man as a class.
I start laughing.
Hi, my name is Zach, and I am 24 years old.
This is Chris. I'm a PhD student at the University of Southern California, and I'm also a Title IX specialist who challenges discrimination against men on college campuses. And I'm 30 years old.
Hi, I'm Derek. I also go by Brendio. I'm a YouTuber.
Nice.
And I'm also known as an incel, which is an involuntarily celibate.
I don't know why, but I hate this kid already.
I believe men and women are different but equal.
Sure.
I know as a woman that I don't have the same physical strengths. Men and women are built differently. I think whenever things are built differently, it's for a reason.
Yes, this is also why we say males should not compete against female in sports. But that's a different topic.
That's a different. Ooh, you petty. Ooh,
I'm just saying,
no, you petty.
feminists, I'm just saying, feminists love to be like, oh my God, men are so much stronger than us. We're scared. And at the same time, they're like,
Scared.
let the men compete against the women. I'm just like, what?
Why did you use that voice? What is wrong with you?
I'm just like, make up your mind. Pick one.
But at the same time, the amount of limits that have been put on women historically, like the fact that not too long ago we were just allowed to like start voting. Even today, like the wage
True.
gap, just all types of stuff like.
Like, just stop bringing up the wage gap. It's been
Yeah,
debunked
it's
by
boring.
almost all credible economists.
It's just lazy.
Women just don't have a lot of rights that are just, it should have nothing to do with what gender we are to be able to be paid equally or just be treated with respect. So, yeah.
I do believe that, of course, there are biological differences between men and women. And of course, there should also be legal equality. Of course, I disagree with the idea that women face systemic discrimination. You just mentioned the wage gap, which has been debunked so many times.
You're this guy. You're Karast, whatever his name is.
Kursat.
Kursat.
And Kursat, big ups to you, brother.
I've studied evolutionary biology quite a bit. And men and women are very different from not just a physical, the bone structure, the neurological department as well as the chemical balances. And also, I don't believe that men and women are equal under the law either, or they should be rather. Children are not equal under the law. And it's not because we hate children, it's because we love them and we want to protect them.
I want to note that you brought up children being unequal to adults. I just hope you weren't comparing women to children.
I mean, it was technically a comparison of women and children.
Oh, this guy is detestable.
I think
Abby.
he's planted on that team to make them seem distinct.
Yeah.
Because even the other two guys are not coming to the other two are just like,
I don't need you to protect me. I just need you not to harm me. I can protect myself. I'm very capable of doing what I need to do. Okay?
Okay, sure.
100%.
Whoa! Wow!
Toxic masculinity is real.
I think that toxic masculinity is definitely a real thing. It's kind of just the idea of what masculinity should be, but it goes wrong a lot of the times, saying that violence, sex, power, being a controlling person makes you a man. see it
Oh.
in very unfortunate places, like when the young men or boys in my family, even from like toddler age, are told you shouldn't be crying, boys don't cry. And what that turns into, I see it when I'm in a bookstore and a guy who tries to get my number says, why y'all always gotta act like that? And he sincerely had this like cracking voice, like he was hurt, but it was an entitlement. And that's toxic masculinity.
Wow. Okay.
So what she's saying is there's a problem there, and she's labeling. I think what you need to realize is people aren't good at saying what it is. They're just good at understanding a feeling. And they know that there's a feeling there. They know there's an injustice there. But the label they pertain to it, like the millennials or whatever, like, come on, bro. If you were born, if you got to like your like late 20s without the internet, you're just 9 times out of 10 you're at a massive perspective disadvantage. Because what it takes me to find information now would take you days. And I'm doing this all day. So the amount of perspectives I'm piling on now are so much more vast than yours. Even if my selection is poor, the sheer volume that I'm going through means that I can approach problems from perspectives that you just haven't been able to access. So, you know, if you're this age, you're basically retarded. So then they don't know what they're saying, but they know what they're feeling. And that's very true, right? So it is the job of the younger, more, the children that had an upbringing that can now finally be considered humane again, right? When we were back in the tribal times, chilling, there were humane upbringings there, right? If you're getting raised now in the Brazilian rainforest and you're with a tribe, like there's a decent chance your life is okay, right? As long as you don't like have a genetic deformity or you get bitten by some whatever, you're probably chilling, you know, vibing. The promise of society is that we can get that kind of good upbringing and that good livelihood more consistently. And part of it is simply scale, right? If you have one place that kills all the pigs and it does it 24 hours a day, you're going to kill a lot of pigs. And that means that you're going to have a lot more meat in the market than if it was localized, seasonalized, right? So it's really humanity trying to change their environment so that these baseline utilities are met. You know, shelter, food, right? Access, information, internet now. So there is a problem there. She's saying that, look, this man has been brought up to have such a fragile existence that a denial from a woman, as a male especially, is basically like shattering his life. Okay. Now, they're laughing at what she's labelled it as. They're doing the logical thing, which is taking the information that she has said as exactly what she means and then analysing that through a logical structure. However, even if she was saying what she means, the deviation in language itself is huge, the emotional deviation. Right? You can type almost any sentence. Right? I saw you yesterday, lol. That could mean, I saw you yesterday and you look so pathetic, I laughed, haha, lol. Or it could be, I saw you yesterday and I was so happy to see you, I laughed, lol. The emotional disparity between like disgust, bullying, right? And like happiness, joy, friendship, they're so different. Like two completely different colours, two completely different palettes, right? And to have those two be within one range of basically a single sentence proves just how much range you're playing with. So when you then put these these logical, which are abstract, these logical proofs that they're going to go through now, they're going to say, okay, she said this, and this. This means that means this, doesn't work with that. right? They're going to logically try and break it apart. But these cones, they all funnel backwards into detail, from broad into detail. But remember, we have massive range here. We have between disgust, bullying, and happiness and friendship. So the narrower you're trying to get now with these logical arguments, the more precise you're trying to become to kind of like whittle the fault lines of this argument. You're not actually doing it. You're deceiving yourself, or you're simply unaware that the accuracy which you are applying to this moment can't actually be had.
Hold on. You went from kids being told not to cry to a guy to a guy asking you for your number, and why are you acting? What is what? Oh, maybe she meant that there was a comma there that I missed. If it's that, I'm sorry. She said, well, I see it there, and I also see it there.
I think that, when you're showing your emotions, especially to random people, random women in some cases, they will view you as weak. I was raised by a single mother. I love her.
Someone's seen our video. Someone's seen our video.
She's my mom. I love her. But I could have used being told to act like a man. I think back, there were some cases where I was too emotional, and that negatively affected how I, what happened to me.
I don't think showing emotions is a sign of weakness. I actually think it's a sign of strength. Men do live.
So this is the Tupac argument, right? Like, I was being a little simp all my days, babe, but I love you. Here's another flower to appease your friendship and love, right? And then he got like blindsided or ghosted or whatever, right? And then afterwards he was like, yeah, bitch, yeah, suck this, whatever. Whoa, yeah, yeah. And now I got all the honeys, right? If you're gonna change your entire personality off one engagement, then your personality wasn't that stable to begin with. So then just move on to another iteration of that. Clearly, the iteration of yourself that you had at that time wasn't stable, because after one interaction, it's going haywire. So you don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can just say, listen, how can I reflect upon this situation, learn from it, and level up? Okay? So my boy over here, single parent, no pops, stability probably wasn't as high because you don't have two incomes coming in, and also just the emotional stability, that goes into low self-esteem, which then makes you a target in school, but you have a lot of anger, so you might like draw people out to like bully you in a weird like contradictory way, and then you show your emotions, let's say you're crying, whatever, and you get like bullied some more, and then you're like, you know what, I just won't. So this is actually the hack thing to do, right? It's like saying every bit of oil we pump out of the ground when it was minus is costing us money. So let's just not pump anything. Once the price is recovered, then we will pump, right? The only problem is, if you cut off your emotions for years and years and years at a time, you can't just turn them on again when it's time to turn them on again. And this gap isn't just filled with the opportunity cost of the emotions you would have felt and the lubrication pause that would have been there. It's also now shrouded in negative emotion, like disgust, like envy, doubt, all these other emotions, right? So the strategy of just cutting off your emotions, it can work in select ways if you're very careful and clinical with your usage. But if you're just like, alrighty boys, just turning off all these emotions because I've got bad results, and you can't blame them, right? If you're just in a super toxic environment, then you just got to be really, you just got to try and buckle up. But that's why you can't solve racism without solving all the other problems as well, right? Slavery is the real problem, and fortunately in America, black people aren't officially slaves, right? They're like high tier slaves or like servants. And if you look at it that way, I mean, pretty much everyone's a servant apart from I mean, you could even say the people at the top are still servants of the overall ideal of the system. They're not always acting in their own best interest, but the interest of like to save face or whatever. Every kind of deviation like that is already an attempt to appease something that is outside of yourself. So the real slavery that's happening is, you know, still in Africa, obviously, you know, China, Southeast Asia, right? These people who used to be farmers, used to be living on the edge, are now just basically just being blasted in the factories. So it's important to try and see past the issue, right? It's great, Black Lives Matter, that's awesome, but we're still looking backwards. We need to look now, we need to look forwards, right? That the issue that was blighting black people and is still looming over them is because it's currently blasting people still, right? And until that whole process has ceased, we can't actually have a system that is of higher value. Yo, so what did we learn from this, right? We learned that turning your emotions off is fine if you use it very, very, very clinically. But if you let it run on and run on and run on, you turn into, you know, this poor guy right here. Spite, resentment, like lots of bad things going on, you know, a lot of self-doubt, self-pity. And if someone, like one of these women, says something, try and listen to the story. What's the engagement? I was here, where was she? A place that is like calm, a place that is whatever. Someone said what to her, how did she respond? What did that imply? Okay, break down the information so it can be read. When you read the Bible, you're not meant to be like, oh, this is that is this, in my personal opinion, because it wasn't written yesterday. Things that I read word for word like that are like things that have been written right now. Even if something was written on Twitter 10 years ago, you already have to read it different. So never mind 2,000 years ago. I don't think that's that controversial, and I hope it's not. So you're trying to not just take the knowledge as it is presented to you, but to try and get a holistic feeling for the information that is being carried. When you're in person, you have a lot higher bandwidth of communication. That's why FaceTime and whatever just isn't the same. And when you're in person, you're not necessarily talking faster. So that means the information that is being transferred to you is part of this other type of communication. Storytelling, language, emotion, they kind of all form together to convey this data, you know? So you need to have different receptors, right? Oh, we have some sun rays, so let's put some solar panels. Oh, we have some wind waves, right? Let's put up some turbines, right? Capturing this different information, this different forces with unique mechanisms.